Recently, I posted a video summarizing all the core salary caps of the Stanley Cup final teams from 2018 to 2024. The point of this was to show that no NHL team has ever won the Stanley Cup with even one player making over $10 million. The current salary cap is $88 million and rising, so obviously the salary cap sweet spot, as I coined it, will rise eventually. But so far, I don't think it has. The deepest teams still don't have any player making over $10 million, and their core players are all as tough and gritty as they are skilled. Now, I know a lot of people strongly disagree with me, and this may be the first year a player over $10 million does win a cup. The comments below are open to all, so please let me know if you have free speech. So at this moment, we are going into the Four Nations tournament break. For comparison with the teams featured in this video, take a good look at the most lopsided core player cost in the NHL. Toronto has $33 million of cap space remaining to pay 77% of the roster. With top players so prematurely and vastly overpaid, they eliminated the best depth players on the team year after year. Basically, great players are attracted to winning cultures. Speaking of which, I'm skipping the pretenders to check out the contenders based on my hypothesis, which states only a team within the salary cap sweet spot will ever get the 16 wins required to win the Stanley Cup. Starting with the defending champions, Florida continues to be one of the deepest teams in the league with stars that like to get dirty. They work like dogs and they lead by example. No doubt because of this leadership, Sam Reinhart, currently 14th in league scoring, accepted a small $2.15 million raise, bringing his salary to a total of $8.6 million. Compare that to, for example, the $11.5 million or $14 million Nylander and Draisaitl scooped off their respective teams' futures. Florida has 7 centers in their lineup, and their defense is solid, 6 deep. Considering all that, they also have guys like Evan Rodriguez at $3 million per year, which is basically equal to $8 million Leaf dollars. This is a do-or-die year for Carolina as they just gave up Natchez to Colorado for Mikko Rantanen. Mikko, currently top 10 in league scoring, will only cost them $4.62 million miraculously. Don't ask me how this all worked with Chicago picking up the rest of the tab in this menage a trois. Getting Rantanen for $4.6 million as well as Taylor Hall has made Carolina even more dangerous and has still kept them in the salary cap sweet spot. If their goaltending is anything like Edmonton's was last playoffs, look out. Dallas was rudely upset by Edmonton in the 2024 semifinals as Andrew Skinner was a wizard in net for the Oilers. With talk of expansion to Houston, I had expected the Stars to advance to the final, but to my delight, we had someone to cheer for north of the Great Wall of Canada. Jamie Benn is a little old for his salary now, but being the highest paid player at $9.5 million, this puts the Dallas Stars in the salary cap sweet spot this season. With the league's interest in promoting the NHL in Texas, I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to have them advance this spring. However, no amount of power play opportunities will help them if they don't manage to score goals late in the playoffs. Although the Atlantic Division has gotten much weaker in the last couple of years, I wouldn't count Tampa out yet. With 10 centers in their lineup and their top paid players capped at $9.5 million, Kucherov is currently in the top 5 with scoring, and Point, Hagel, and Gunsel are all in the top 30. Tampa is still a solid team with serious depth, entirely made up of Stanley Cup champions. Popular branding has dubbed this season's biggest side story as the Great Chase, referring to Alex Ovechkin's pursuit of the all-time scoring record. Ovi has slowed down an awful lot, and the team is definitely playing extra hard for his chances. But at least they're not paying him $13.25 million a year. Washington is still a deep team because they have kept their top players' egos in check and stayed in the salary cap sweet spot all these years. With Kaprizov out for surgery, this is going to hurt the Wild's goal production. Despite already missing a couple dozen games, though, he is still in the top 30 for league scoring at this time. With his salary being $4.25 million less than Austin Matthews, I'd say that's a better deal. Regardless, being their top paid player at $9 million a year, Minnesota is still in the salary cap sweet spot and could easily stack it up by the trade deadline if they end up putting Kaprizov on the LTIR, for example. Vegas remains a deep team with their highest paid player Jack Eichel in the top 10 for league scoring, only making $10 million a year. They are in the salary cap sweet spot. Adding guys like Zach Whitecloud for just $2.75 million, this is more evidence of how higher caliber players will sign for under $3 million when they have true leadership at the top of the team they're joining. Stacked on defense as well as 8 centers in their lineup, the Golden Knights are still a big threat to go deep in the playoffs. With Hughes and Bratt in the top 15 for league scoring, that's pretty good leadership with nobody making over $9 million on this team. Although not my top pick to win a cup, they have a more robust middle than teams that overpay their top players. Unfortunately for Ottawa, this one is misleading. Even though Stützle is in the top 30 for scoring, he is far too soft to be leading a team. Brady Tkachuk is definitely the second best Tkachuk in the league, and another example of how players can easily be overhyped and overpaid in Canada. Despite the fact they fit the salary cap sweet spot, Ottawa is a little weak on top and in the middle compared to the other teams on this list. Columbus is a hard-working, high-scoring team, and if they are able to shore up their defense and goaltending, they can be dangerous. I think they are playing with even more emotion than usual, going through the tragic loss of Johnny Gaudreau together. They also have a whopping $20.1 million in cap space available, which, with the right opportunity, can tilt the whole rink in their favor. It really wasn't that long ago that St. Louis started the new year at the bottom of the league only to end up winning the cup. It's always a long shot, but if anything, they are still a team with very fair salary parity and remain in the salary cap sweet spot. The New York Islanders are still fighting for a playoff position, and their top players are not doing so well so far. Regardless, they are in the salary cap sweet spot, and if St. Louis could do it, then place your bets carefully. Well, you never know. Technically in the salary cap sweet spot, Detroit has Sherratt, Tarasenko, and Kane tucked into the middle of their roster. However, these guys are all a bit old to get 16 playoff wins in this league. That being said, they have a statistically higher chance of winning a cup than any team that pays their top players over $10 million each. The Winnipeg Jets have been on fire this season from front to back and top to bottom. With superstar talent that enthusiastically embraces full contact hockey, nobody on this team makes over $8.5 million, even though they play in one of the coldest cities on earth. With killer defense and goaltending backing up 4 solid lines, there's really no filler here. Winnipeg has had some ticket sales issues in the past, and this wouldn't be the first time a team did remarkably well the very next year following such issues being raised. Whatever the reason, I am excited AF to watch them compete in this year's playoffs. Now, judging by my own tone, I would say that Winnipeg is my favorite team on this list. There are, however, other teams in the salary cap sweet spot I never bothered to mention, such as Utah or Anaheim. Just because you're in the salary cap sweet spot doesn't mean you should be considered a contender, but at least you're not a pretender. Obviously, a lot can happen with roughly 30 games left in the regular season. How long will Carolina be without Mikko Rantanen due to his injury? I didn't even mention Los Angeles, who is technically in the salary cap sweet spot for as long as Drew Doughty remains on the LTIR. What's the bottom line interest for the New York-based NHL corporation? Surely having a cup in Texas is the best to promote expansion to Houston. Or perhaps Winnipeg sells out 10 years' worth of season tickets for one Stanley Cup sacrifice, one parade after a 32-year-long wait across Canada. I'm liking the sound of that. I just wish they had it done by mid-May. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck to your favorite team.